Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 10 continues where the previous chapter left off, with Jura chasing the Nine Tails, whom we find out is sealed inside of Naruto's daughter Himawari. We also have the start of Sarada versus Hidari, and while this is happening, we get Kawaki being informed about Himawari's situation, Boruto's fear over his residence with Kawaki's karma, and seemingly being sidelined from the battle. We're going to talk about all of this in the video, but as always guys, I must ask that you hit the subscribe button if you like what you see and want to support the channel. Hit the like button and please comment down below with your thoughts on the chapter. Now let's get into the review. So the chapter begins with Jura and Hidari watching Team 10 lead Himawari away from them, and Jura correctly guessing that they're doing this to lead them away from Konoha to help minimize any damage done to the village. But before they could follow them, Hidari notices some Konoha shinobi heading towards them, and he stays behind to keep them from interfering with Jura. While this is happening, we get an interaction between Hidari and Konohamaru where they confirm that the source of Sasuke's chakra signature is indeed coming from Hidari. Afterwards, Sarada and Sumire make it to the battlefield, and this is where things get interesting and where my first issue with this chapter shows up. Hidari identifies Sarada, whom we know is his target, and he disappears into claw marks he placed into the ground, and then reappears from claw marks he placed behind Sarada and Sumire. We see him appear behind Sarada, raise his hand, and activates a Chidori that he aims at her. Sarada quickly activates her Sharingan, drops down to avoid it, and then activates her own Chidori that grazes Hidari's side. Now this is obviously a very impressive feat, don't get me wrong. Being able to avoid a point-blank Chidori from Hidari, whom we know scales above Jigen, is very impressive. It shows that Sarada has improved a lot during the 3-year time skip. So what exactly are my issues with what happened here? Well, there's a couple of things that bug me about what happened. When it comes to Sarada and where she is in terms of power, during the first chapter, when she was face to face with Code and surrounded by Clawgrimes, she looked really concerned, which tells us that either this will not be an easy fight or that she can't survive this. Boruto shows up and easily deals with the same situation she was in, which tells us a few things. Currently, Boruto is above Sarada in the power hierarchy, which I believe most of us agree with. Boruto later is shown to struggle against the bug Shinjuu, and since Hidari was made using Sasuke's chakra, just like how the bug Shinjuu was made using Bug's chakra, we can surmise that Hidari is stronger than the bug Shinjuu. So does it make sense that Sarada should be able to dodge his attack? Based on what we were shown, I don't think it does. Now, it is possible the next chapter could add context to this interaction, such as Hidari wasn't taking Sarada seriously. As a result, he ended up being hurt because of it. If it does, then I'll take back what I said. But as of right now, it makes no sense for this to happen. I would also like to make it clear that I don't believe that Sarada is stronger than Hidari. I don't expect the next chapter to show us Hidari being effortlessly taken out by Sarada. If that does happen, then I'm gonna call BS. But again, I'll wait till the next chapter to see how the fight goes. Now, there's a couple of things I do want to talk about before we get to the main event of the chapter. First, let's talk about Kawaki's reaction to the news that the Shinjuu are targeting Himawari. We have seen Kawaki the past few chapters be absolutely obsessed with killing Boruto because it's part of his goal to rid the universe of the Otsutsuki. And since Boruto is not only 100% Otsutsuki, but he also has an Otsutsuki seal inside of him, which, just in case anyone forgot, the threat of Momoshiki is still very much alive. At any point, he could take over Boruto's body and cause a lot of chaos, especially with how much stronger Boruto is now, scaling above Jigen in terms of power. If Momoshiki did take over, you could realistically say that only the Shinjuu would have the power to stop him. So you can't really blame Kawaki for seeing Boruto as a threat that needs to be taken down, because he does have a point. However, as obsessed as he is, the second he hears from Shikamaru that Himawari is in trouble and that the Shinjuu are targeting her, he immediately drops his obsession with Boruto and heads to the battlefield to help, which tells us, or at least tells me, that Himawari might be more important to Kawaki than we originally thought. If that is the case, then it is possible that she might be the key for people getting through to Kawaki. And why I like this moment here is that it shows us that Kawaki isn't too far gone yet. He isn't at a point where he can't focus on things outside of his obsession of getting rid of the Otsutsuki. Now we know that Kawaki at some point will do something drastic that even Boruto says he didn't expect him to do, which we saw in the flash forward at the beginning of the story, but it seems for now at least he hasn't gotten to that point, and it might be heartbreaking for fans when it does happen, because for a moment it seems like you could have actually gotten through to him. Now let's talk about Boruto. After Boruto ran away from Kawaki when both their karma marks resonated, we see Boruto with a look of panic in his eyes. It's clear he wanted to make sure that his karma didn't activate, and we know according to Kashin Koji that Boruto at some point lost control. Something bad clearly happened because otherwise Boruto wouldn't have panicked as much as he did. Now I think this is a good thing because it makes Boruto, who, with the exception of his fight against the Shinjuu, seemed to just have everything figured out. Now we have another situation where Boruto has no solution other than to run. This is good because it keeps Boruto from feeling like he's too perfect. It's essentially what Kishimoto did with Sasuke in Naruto Part 2. If you remember, when Sasuke was reintroduced into the Naruto story, he looked like an absolute monster by just taking out Team 7 with barely any effort at all. But towards the end of that interaction, Sasuke himself reveals that for as strong as he's gotten during the 2.5-year time skip, he still wasn't strong enough to take out Itachi, which told us that Sasuke still had room to grow in terms of power and skill. Same thing with Boruto. Boruto still has hurdles he needs to overcome, which gives us something to look forward to with this character. Now on to the actual main events of the chapter, what everyone else is talking about, Himawari's discussion with Kurama and Jura catching up to Team 10, and the possible death of a character. Now this is where I had more issues with the story, and I'll explain more as we go over what happened. So after Jura catches up to Team 10 by firing another Bijudama, which destroys the wing of the bird Inojin summoned to help them escape, before that, however, we get a conversation between Himawari and Kurama where Himawari asks the questions we have had since we learned that Himawari is now the Jinchuriki of the Ninetales. Unfortunately, we don't really get an answer for how Kurama ended up being reborn inside of Himawari. What we do get is Kurama just repeating information we already knew about the Biju coming back to life after dying. He mentions that there could be any reason why this could have happened. He mentions how it could be because Himawari gained a portion of his chakra when she was conceived, or it could be because she has Hyuga and Uzumaki blood, or it could just be fate. Essentially, the chapter doesn't give us a reason for why this actually happened. At one point, Kurama even says to Himawari that she should just accept that this is the current situation, and basically there's no need to think about it. Now, the reason why I don't like this is because to me, it felt like they couldn't come up with a reason for how Himawari ended up being Kurama's Jinchuriki, so they said it is what it is, just accept it and move on. If this really is the case and later chapters don't give us a satisfying answer as to how this happened, then it will feel very anticlimactic. We do also get some more information from Kurama. Now, according to whatever translation you read, Himawari either has more chakra than any of her predecessors, or her affinity for Kurama's chakra is higher than her predecessors, even Naruto. Now, as to why her affinity is higher than Naruto's, well, we don't really know. It could be because she was conceived by Naruto, who was Kurama's Jinchuriki, or maybe it's because she has Uzumaki blood in her. But all of that also applies to Naruto, so why is Himawari's affinity higher because of that? To me, it feels like they just needed a reason to explain how Himawari using Kurama's chakra could compete with these beyond Jigen level threats, even though Naruto couldn't do it even when he had Kurama's power plus his own. So after Jura takes them down, he again reiterates to them that this didn't need to happen, but since they got involved and are going to continue interfering, then Jura will have no choice but to kill them. At that point, Himawari continues to ask Kurama for help, but Kurama yells at her to stop whining and actually do something. Now, if you're confused as to why Kurama would tell her to face Jura even though he should know she stands no chance against him, he is saying this in regard to her using his power, because he tells her that how useful he will be in this fight depends entirely on her. Now, she tries to attack Jura and it goes pretty much how you would expect it to go. He catches her leg and breaks it, a lot like how Boruto's arm was broken by Ishiki, and it looks pretty brutal. Her leg was completely broken by Jura. And then Inojin, trying to be a hero, ends up being kneed in the stomach, much like how Naruto was kneed in the stomach by Jigen. Jura traps Himawari in a tree, and just when he was about to take her, Inojin still tries to stop him. And we see Himawari begging Jura to leave them alone, but Jura again reiterates to her that he has no interest in everyone else, just her, but they keep interfering, so he's left with no choice but to kill them. This is when I'm sure Ino probably fell to the floor after sensing what happened, because Jura uses another wood-style jutsu to pierce Inojin through the stomach. Now, it's not clear whether Inojin is dead or not. In fact, I don't expect him to be. Maybe in the next chapter, someone will show up to either heal him or he'll be taken by someone from Team 10 to the hospital to be treated. Now, this is where we get to another thing I didn't like about this segment of the chapter. After seeing Inojin get hurt, Himawari gets emotional and channels Kurama's power, and yes, this is very similar to what happened in the Pain Invasion arc. Naruto getting caught by pain, someone tries to help him, that person ends up getting injured, then Naruto gets angry and channels the power of the Nine Tails. Everything that happened here is just repeating the same story beats of what we got from the Pain Invasion arc in the Naruto manga. Now, when this happened, Jura didn't look all that concerned, so I'm interested to see how she does against him in the next chapter. Overall, I'm not expecting her to actually win, maybe get a few hits in, and then Jura either knocks out Himawari or maybe she snaps out of it herself because she realizes that she was causing too much damage. Either way, we will have to wait for the next chapter to see what happens. So I think I made it clear that this chapter just didn't work for me. There were many things that just didn't make sense. The whole Himawari going Kurama mode against Jura and the lead up to it being just a repeat of what we already got in the Naruto manga. Also, not getting a clear answer for how Kurama ended up being reborn inside of Himawari just didn't sit right with me. Now, of course, I didn't hate everything. I did mention how I liked what was given to us with Boruto and Kawaki, and I am curious to see where the story takes those characters from here to where we know they inevitably end up. But that's going to be it for me when it comes to this review. Let me know what you guys thought of it in the comment section down below. If you disagree with me and you like the chapter, let me know why. I really do love hearing from you guys. Also, if you like the video, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share the video out there. Now, with that being said, I hope I see you guys for my review of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 11. Bye for now.